Hello, everybody. My name is Selen and I'm client manager for Kilpatrick International Headhunting and HR Consulting Company. I am extremely happy to welcome you to the podcast Türkiye Through Her Voice. The aim of the podcast is to give voice to Turkish ladies who have reached leadership positions inside and outside of the country. We will listen to their voices with open mind and try to understand the reality better, avoiding stereotypes. So today I'm very happy to welcome Selen Sezgine. Welcome. Thank you very much. So Selen is the director of corporate legal for a global company with Turkish roots. You have an interesting career. You have started in Turkey with a top legal manager, and then evolved your career abroad with in Italy, especially in Italy. What would you say that was the most defining moment that shaped the way you approach legal management as a female?
Thank you. I'm so happy to here with you, Tiziana, and thanks also inviting me. It's such a kind of precious moment. So for me, the most valuable moment, that the best defining moment that's defining me today, it should be, of course, relocating from my own home country, Turkey, to here in Italy. This is something quite transformative, not only for my career, my own professional background, but also all my character, personality, and having a new life purpose for future coming. So I have been in the legal environment for decades, which I started as a junior legal intern in one of the external law firm in Istanbul, Turkey. And when I come back from this junior level of Selen and until today, it's been like a very interesting, challenging moments that shaped also my leadership that I'm present as a leader today. I have started as a trainee, which I was doing like a certain collection of receivables of our clients.
What Turkish it cut that the hard way.
In the eastern part of Turkey, I had a couple of collection Caesars matters, which is starting from the collection officers coming from Turkey. And then when I come across to M&A transaction, this is something with a full international background. This is something that shaped my own international window of professional background. This is what I can say. So it's a kind of transformation that is being evolved in the years and years, which is something challenging, but also enjoyable and learning paths that I had, which I am so thankful.
So you say you started in a consulting legal company, right? And you were working also in the eastern part of
area region in Turkey. Yes, I had some travels.
Would you say that there is a difference on how the perspective of ladies are seen in the different parts of Turkey, or do you think it's more homogeneous as a perspective?
I can say quite homogeneous in her perspective. Yes, I have been represent my clients, my company, and my law firm in the eastern part, southern part, northern part, and also western part of Turkey, in different courthouses, different data places for the purpose of collection of certain civils and certain employer-employee relative cases. In a different roles, in the different files, lawsuit files, and in different tables that I set and that I presented my own clients. This is, as a woman, I have never been treated something different. And an opposite in Turkey, the women had always been respected, and the one as in the different tables and different subject matters that I have been involved, I always took the opportunity being a woman. Maybe it was my luck, because I know that very interesting, very strange also news that we are hearing, we are listening, we are watching from the Turkish channels. But what I can say, I took my opportunity as being a lawyer, a woman lawyer. That is something as an advantage for me in front of all the clients. In the even for the cases where we had no Turkish capabilities that's in front of me, those are something an opportunity for me that I can say.
Okay. And when you starting from consulting legal companies, then you have decided to move to a corporate. And you have seen your career, you have handled very complex M&A, not only for the companies you're working at, but also in the past, a very complex M&A process and international contracts, legal conflicts, etc. Do you think that is a recipe as a woman leader that can be applied to deal with this kind of normally male-dominated world, legal world? Is there any special thing that a lady can bring into the table for the legal department, to lead the legal department?
There should be one of the important delivery that women do is search clarity. We are just always to make that things more clarified, more structured way. And this is one of the delivery, most important deliverable that woman contributes into the business in get certain and clear in case of even complex transactions, what is going to be achieved, what is going to be carried out in a long-term basis, in a long-term transactions that will carry forward. So for those, as a woman, from human perspective, what I can say, two main pillars. We are always pace in faster. We always fast in making the things on time, because the timing is important prioritization item, not only as a woman but also as a mom, I can say. So we are very good and successful at management of the timing resource, and also make the complex things into more clear and clear paths, just to have more clear steps begin. This is two main things that I can say that we deliver as a winner.
Okay, you know that in the past, in the not prehistorical past, the recent past, the ladies, the women were not allowed to make the profession of lawyer or judge, even worse, because the statement was that the emotional part of the woman was too much out of control, so to say. And that's the reason why a lawyer or a judge must be, balanced. And this emotional part of the woman was not seen as appropriate in the profession of lawyer. Do you agree with this statement?
I don't agree. And I fully believe immensely that having these emotions is also running the business world in a more peaceful and more humanitarian level. We, as a woman, yes, we are making all the things with emotions. I am also one of the emotional women. Around my own habitat. This is what I can say. But having emotion is eh, making the things, carrying into the things into the solution from also humankind's perspective. I am attaching the matters that is certain soul-wake matters also from my heart with human kinds beings. So having the things managed only with the mental uh, aspect is not something that could put you in a most appropriate solution, I believe. And managing the things with human kind feeling is something that could create a new generation, new life habits, and also more sustainable solutions that we will learn.
Well, it's really nice to hear it from your voice, because it's this part of considering a lady like not rational just because it brings humanity into on the table. It's really that something that I don't agree with, because as you said, this brings only value to what we do and the way we approach things. So you are coming actually from Turkish background and also experience international exposure. Do you see any difference in the culture between Turkey and the European countries, assuming, well, it's limited it to Europe without Turkey, so to say. Do you see any difference in how women are approached and approach the work, or is it or now standardized?
If I was working in one of the corporate life like 30 years ago, I believe the answer was not more standardized, and the approach against the woman and male-dominated environment should have not been chatted equally. But nowadays, following the years and evaluation, years and evolving on the all policies on the equalization in the governmental authorities, in the countries, in the states, and also in the corporate organizations, I believe the equalization is almost there. Mm-hmm. The treatment, the approaching to women and men is almost there. So from as a legal, as a woman, as an employee, had a legal background, what I can say that legal environment is mostly surrounded with women. So legal profession is mostly opted by the women leaders. So therefore, I cannot say that there is a kind of huge differences between the treatment of male and women. So they also in my own organization, this could be the worst that I can also deliver.
Selena, I would like to ask you this. You have worked in Turkish as well as European corporate culture. During your career, did you notice any difference, or did you detect any difference in the approach that corporate European and Turkish corporate have towards women and the way they are introduced, they are approached in corporate world?
As from being a gender perspective, I have not come across any change, any differences between the way of treatment in Turkey and Europe. But what I could say, there's a kind of way of doing business in these two different territories. So when I go back looking at my years in Turkey, the way of having decision making is something much more faster. And I was more adaptive in having the quick decisions making, and always, and this is also one of the cultural roots. The Turkish culture is more on hands-on involvements, just to aim the certain execution in a faster way. From European perspective, this is something not fully is say comparing the Turkey, and here it's the structure talks. here, rather than focusing on the execution result, the process, the steps that is going forward to have it done is something important as a governance, as a structural management skill. So this is something that I'm experiencing here. Is it we are all, I'm now based in Italy, Milan. We are all part of Mediterranean culture. But Turkey, the adaptability, the hands-on involvement, the focusing on the execution, the results, regardless of this will bring you a good or wrong
Outcome. Would you say that in Turkey we have more an approach of whatever it takes?
whether it takes, and we always believe that the things can be done in the way.
Somehow.
Somehow, regardless of the solution will come, outcome will come, yeah, positive, affirmative, or a negative way. This is the one of the habits, the tradition that is in our roots. Here in Europe, it is different, and regardless of being a woman or man, what I'm experiencing until so far is a structuring. The management and overflow of these structure steps is playing an important role. Rather than having the decisions taken in a quick, faster, and adaptable way, the structure matters.
Okay. And so it's maybe also coming really from this culture of being also a little bit, things will, it will not happen a disaster. Somehow we will make it. İşe olmaz. House in somehow the yes we come to the results. And this is involving also female world. In which sense you think that this is impacting the role of a woman?
Bir şey olmaz culture. I think this is, coming from the Turkish origins. It's regardless of the outcome is in a positive and a negative way. I think bir şey olmaz matters. Somehow it works. It works because it keeps you like more motivated, more up in your goals and their focus on their results. So for us, the veils rather than veils working for us, it's important to make it more compliant, ethical, and professional way is something the most important pillar to make it happen. But having these want another different exchange of mindset is not keeping us in a solution, not in a result. Therefore, we always believe that this a kind of fast moving to reach out the solution is important in our own working habits and impacts just to get the things done, enable.
It's really interesting what you're saying because I think also in Europe this is called the old continent. It's welcome also this part of saying okay, we will make it somehow and don't concentrate too much on the process, rather on the results. So a mixture of these two way of thinking could be the right solution for
UBIVG. Yeah, that can be the ideal one, as the particularly for the project management that's involving, mostly requiring in my own M&A involvements that I join transactions. Having the only focusing on the solution, of course, will not give you a great result. So, because at the end, this will also there could be some future impact that you need to carry out after M&A M&A transaction. And in this future path, you should, of course, foresee all the future steps, future risks in advance. And in order to make it fully foresee the risks management, the fixed risk calculation and narrative, you should make the things in a more constructed way, in a more world that is exchange of ideas, the processes that has to be foreseen, observed, in order not to experience any negative surprise.
Yeah, exactly. With legal is important. Now we have a couple of us that would like to make a question for you.
Excellent. You have carried your career across countries, culture, and calculated transition. When you look back, what is a personal experience outside of work that shaped the kind of leader you are today?
A relocation from hometown to another country is quite challenging and transformative for me. The new habits that you are gaining, new lifestyle, new colleagues, new neighborhoods, all is new. All is new, not only in your own business world, but also in your business life, but also in your private life. It's a complete challenge. It's a complete transformative decision taken. But I'm so proud and I'm so happy to glad to how this decision is taken. Even your eating habits are changing. And it's a kind of very important role that plays in one of the humankind's 124 hours life balance. So life circle. But the most challenging part, of course, from my own professional perspective, I can say, the new legal framework. I'm now learning and just starting from scratch in my even own professional background. I am starting from scratch because now I am getting used to new legal framework, new system, new regulatory bodies, processes. So a new culture, new way of a bias that you need to overcome. For this, you need to over prepare, over deliver. So all these are requiring certain efforts. This is that I can shortly share with you.
And I would like to ask you something. I know it's not your area of expertise, but I would like to have your opinion as a legal expert. Do you think that over the time, what we define as appropriate and not appropriate in working environment in the relationship, females, men, had changed? Meaning what we considered as acceptable or appropriate maybe 20 years ago is now no longer appropriate. Like, these jokes that we so much appreciate from our colleagues on maybe physical aspect or whatever. 20 years ago, we're taking, as men are like this. And now we are pointing them out as not appropriate. Do you think that it changed enough in a good, in a positive way? Or how do you see this situation of appropriate, not appropriate changing?
Of course, comparing the years and years ago, there right now, nowadays, there are very significant improvements that organizations, global organizations particularly, are taking certain measures, such as setting forth certain compliance policies, whistleblowing structures, and a certain lines, ethic lines that's empowering women to speak up with purpose, speak up with full of transparency. So with these newly dedicated, established corporate tools, I believe that right now women are more generous to speak up alone, collectively or alone. So we are here to speak up. We are here from appropriate perspective. Each and every person has different characters, and they have certain, each and every person has different values. Just to cherry pick the appropriate and inappropriate values, but there are certain general values that everyone can take as an inappropriate. And when sometimes that certain women colleagues experiencing inside of organizations, we are now having certain enough tools just to show up our voice in a very transparent but also in a very confidential way. So I believe right now, nowadays, the conditions that is approaching the woman, the communication approaching the woman is in a much more polite way. But of course, there are some jurisdictions, territories that has more investments either that they need to make in approaching the women, setting certain corporate policies, code of conducts, certain ethical lines that's empowering the woman in a more appropriate way to speak up.
Okay. Thank you. And now a question that I make to all our guests at the end of the podcast. And it is, do you believe that in Turkey we are in a put way to arrive to a world where there is real equality between men and women? Let's say not in general, this would be too much to us, but at least in the work environment.
At least in a working environment, I'm the luckiest one that has been working in one of the most important, valuable conglomerates in Turkey, which is the biggest company actually in Turkey. So I am the luckiest one on it. But looking at the another side, of course, depending on the region, company size, from small size to large size, and there must have some unequal treatments that should be evolved, developed, and reshaped once again to the benefit of women. But again, as a woman, we have too many weights in our shoulders. We are not acting as a woman, but we are a mom. So as a working mom, this is the most important challenge for women.
Yes.
After delivering the baby, starting again with the small one. So it is not something manageable for each and every woman in Turkey. Each and every family has different economic conditions. But what I would voice over and speak up is that women should have more support coming from governments, coming from certain NSOs, that they should empower to work more autonomously rather than depending to the family gatherings. There should be more open places for women to leave their kids, to have more free time to focus their own works, their own startups. So this all starts from the governmental attitudes, governmental policies that should be more supportive and contributive. All right. Thank you very much, Selen. Thank you for this contribution that you have given. My pleasure. Thank you.
And to you guys, thank you for watching and stay tuned to our next episode.